Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the part of your world. My name is Jason Mejias. I'm one of the product marketing managers here at ARC. Welcome to our webinar, Accelerating Airline Data Output. This afternoon, before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items. During the duration of the webinar, if you have questions during that time, you can utilize the questions area within the GoToWebinar control panel. You can open that area up. You can ask your questions. We have several ARC team members that are going to be monitoring that box. We'll answer your questions either directly in the questions area of the box, or we will bring them on the call itself. At this time, I'd like to present Shelly Younger, who's our Managing Director of Airline Retailing and Settlement, who'll begin our webinar. Shelly, it's all yours.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. And again, I echo Jason's comments. Appreciate you joining. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. We're here today to talk about an upcoming enhancement that we're putting in place to accelerate the output of settled data. So let's go ahead and jump right in. There are two aspects to really what we're presenting today. There are the changes to the CAT file delivery and what's inside the CAT file. We're actually not changing any data elements on the CAT file. And then I'm gonna transition to my colleague, Jen Watkins, and she is gonna talk about the changes to early credit billing and credit billing. And we also have Kathy Derringer on the line who is going to support any of your detailed complex questions. And then I'm going to turn it over to Harkaran Sahani, who has actually led the development effort for this change. And then Jen and I will come back and specifically talk about implementation week. So you've got, again, the revenue accounting side, the CAT changes, and then you've got the credit billing changes. So for those of you that on either side of that fence, when we get to certain sections, it may be a little bit more detailed, but we wanted to make sure we covered all of the impacts to the airlines on this. So let's get started. What is the enhancement? We are modernizing our system to accelerate the output of settled data to the airlines. This does a number of things. It gets data to you faster. It also allows the agency channel to be slightly more in parity, not completely, but a little bit closer to how you're getting your direct sales. So it also improves, the faster you get that data, it improves your sales and revenue forecasting and cash management forecasting. And it also specifically expedites the transmission of Sunday and Monday refunds and exchanges to our credit card processors 1 day sooner. So that means there's the possibility, right, of getting refunds issued on Sunday and Monday 1 day sooner to the cardholder. So when will we go to implementation? That will actually happen on Monday, January 13th, 2025. And we've actually received JBARA approval, and this is going to actually go to our board for approval here in a couple of weeks, and we don't see any reason why that is going to not be approved. So we will implement on Monday, January the 13th, 2025. That means the first impacted period end date, PED, is January 12th. Agencies, the first impact to them is going to be when they submit and authorize their sales report on Tuesday, January the 14th. And in order for us to expedite our data, agencies will actually need to authorize their report about 10 hours sooner than they do today. So today, agencies authorize the report at 11:59 Eastern Time, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be moving that up to 1:59 p.m. Eastern Time for the agencies to actually authorize their previous week's report. So those are the highlights. Now we're going to actually get down into quite a bit of detail here. And I'm going to take my time with this on the carrier accounting changes because it can be a little detailed here, and but I ask you to bear with me because these are important changes for airlines to get ready. Let's walk through the carrier accounting file, the CAT file, delivery frequency today, and then we're going to walk through what's exactly changing. So today, Monday and Tuesday, sales, refunds, and exchanges are output to airlines on what we call our Cycle 1 CAT file. And that is typically delivered to you every Friday at 1 a.m. Eastern Time. The same thing for Cycle 2. Wednesday, sales, refunds, and exchanges will usually go out on Saturday at 1 a.m. And Thursday's sales, refunds, and exchanges usually go out on Sunday, Cycle 3, at 11 a.m. Cycles 4 and 5 are null files, and 4 goes out Monday at 1 a.m., 5 goes out Tuesday at 1 a.m., and Cycle 6, which contains Friday and Saturday sales, refunds, and exchanges, goes out Wednesday at 1 a.m. Then you have our final Cycle 7, which contains Sunday sales, refunds, and exchanges, and all debit memos, credit memos, commission recall, and any adjustments. And today that goes out Thursday at 1 a.m. And then for those airlines that receive our weekly CAT that contain Monday through Sunday transactions and all of our adjustments, credit memos, and debit memos, that goes out Thursday at 4 a.m. So this is our current schedule for the CAT file. Now let's talk about what's going to change. So what is changing is in the future, once we implement on January the 13th, Monday's sales, refunds, and exchanges will now go out on Cycle 1, but that Cycle 1 file will now be delivered on Wednesday at 9 p.m. So instead of Cycle 1 being delivered today, Friday at 1 a.m., and containing Mondays and Tuesdays, we're accelerating Monday's sales, refunds, and exchanges to go out on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Cycle 2 will now contain Tuesdays, sales, refunds, and exchanges, and that will go out on Thursday at 9 p.m. Cycle 3 will now contain Wednesdays, sales, refunds, and exchanges, and that will go out on Friday at 9 p.m. Thursday's sales, refunds, and exchanges will now go out Saturday at 9 p.m. Cycles 5 and 6 now are null. Those go out Sunday at 9 and Monday at 9. And Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays sales, refunds, and exchanges, plus all debit memos, credit memos, commission recalls, and adjustments will now go out on Wednesday at 2 a.m. And if you're receiving the weekly CAT, you will get that a day earlier, now on Wednesday at 4 a.m. And that contains, of course, the previous week's Monday through Sunday transactions. I'll pause right there and Jason, see if we have any questions so far.
All right, Shelly, I know that was a lot of information there, so
That was a
we'll
lot.
take some time to think it through a bit. If you do have a question, you can utilize the questions area of the GoToWebinar control panel. We have several ARC members that are monitoring that box. Also, keep in mind while you're processing the information that the recording of this session as well as the PowerPoint PDF will be distributed after our call. So we do have a question from Arch Menzies says, what is meant by null?
Null means there are no transactions in the file. Nothing is in the file. We actually deliver essentially a header and a trailer on the CAP file, and nothing is inside of that. And today we do that on cycles 4 and 5 on the left-hand side of the screen. You're getting that Monday and Tuesday at 1 a.m. In the future, those two null cycles are going to be on Sunday and Monday. And many of you usually ask, why is there a null cycle? And that is because the next business day void and modification window that we have still remains in place. We have not changed the next business day void and modification window. And of course, we also have not changed the date that we will deliver cash to you, which is each Friday. So those two things have not changed.
Okay, we have one more question that says, so Wednesday, well, it's more of a statement. So Wednesdays will have 2 cycles?
That is correct. You actually just, thank you for that intro. I couldn't have paid you to do it any better. That was going to be my next statement, is that in the future, you will no longer receive a CAP file on Tuesdays. You will receive 2 CAP files on Wednesday. You're going to receive cycle 1 on Wednesday at 9 p.m. And you're also going to receive cycle 7 on Wednesday at 2 a.m. So if you have airlines, what I want you guys to think about as you kind of go from here are, if you have any scripts or robotics, if you have any hard coding where you are expecting a certain cycle or certain transactions in that cycle, those will also, of course, need to be changes that you work through to be able to take in the data on the new schedule. I've talked to airlines outside of this webinar, and some don't have any specific hard coding, so there'll be very little impact to them, but some do. You will also need to think about any of your technology vendors or your auditing teams that take in the CAP file and do any auditing on them. If they have any coding that they may need to change to take in the new cycles, or excuse me, the cycles on a different day, then we ask you to reach out to them and make sure they understand these changes. You will have this deck. Harkaran is going to go through our resources page here in just a little bit. You're welcome to refer anyone to the resources page where we have all of this out there in our FAQs. And of course, you're always welcome to reach out to the AHD, to your account manager, or me, and happy to jump on a phone call and talk to any of your vendors as needed.
Shelly, we have a lot of great questions coming in.
Okay.
Just once, if you can, what day of the week we're going to have 2 CAP files? Can you repeat that again?
Absolutely. On Wednesday, after January the 13th, on Wednesday, you will have 2 CAP files. Cycle 1, which will come to you at 9 p.m. and cycle 7 for the previous Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays transactions will come to you Wednesday at 2 a.m. And that is represented on screen on the right-hand side on the first line and the line second from the bottom. You'll see 2 files, cycle 7 Wednesday at 2 a.m. and cycle 1 on Wednesday at 9 p.m.
So question is, why is the cash still Friday?
That is part of our existing airline reporting agreement and the carrier services agreement and the agency reporting agreement. To make that change is pretty significant for the entire industry. And it's not to say that we will not do that at some point in time in the future, but right now we've chosen to maintain that cash delivery on a Friday.
Okay. Michelle's asking a great question. I think that will transition us is what will a holiday week look like?
Again, I appreciate the intro there. Let's move to a Monday holiday week because those are typically the most common holidays, and the week after implementation. So we're implementing on January the 13th. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January the 20th. So we will go right into the next week into a holiday week. So let's talk about what the CAT delivery output schedule looks like on a Monday holiday week. So agencies will have an extra day to authorize their weekly report, which means that now on a Monday holiday week only, cycle 1, of course, will still go out on Wednesday at 9 p.m. The cycles don't change. It is the content of the cycle changes. So cycle 1 now goes out, of course, goes out Wednesday at 9 and contains the previous week's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday sales, refunds, and exchanges, and Monday from the current week sales, refunds, and exchanges. Cycle 2, which will go out Thursday at 9 p.m., contains Tuesday's sales, refunds, and exchanges, and debit, credit memos, commission recall, and adjustments from the previous week. Cycle 3, which goes out Friday, at 9 p.m., will contain Wednesday's sales, refunds, and exchanges. Cycle 4, which goes out Saturday at 9 p.m., will have Thursday's sales, refunds, and exchanges. Cycles 5, 6, and 7 on Monday holiday weeks will be null. And then the weekly file continues to go out Wednesday at 4 a.m. I'll pause because, again, I know this is a lot to take in. And I want to reiterate, we do have this out on our website on our frequently asked questions. So all of this information is on our website.
So Shelly, there's a question that came in regarding, I think it pertains to this slide as well as the prior, which is what is the last line of the PowerPoint? I think what they mean by that is, can you elaborate a little bit on the weekly cycle?
Sure. So, excuse me, some airlines choose to just receive what we call a weekly CAP file. Some choose to receive both a daily, which is the cycles 1 through 7 that you see on the screen, and a weekly CAP file. The weekly CAP file just contains the previous full weeks of transactions. So Monday through Sunday, which is our current period. The weekly CAP file sums all of those up together and sends it out in one CAP file. Some of you are already receiving the weekly file, some are not, some don't need it. If you receive the daily file, oftentimes you don't necessarily need the weekly file, but you may choose, depending on your audit vendor or other, what you may do in your revenue accounting systems, you may choose to receive the weekly file as well. I hope that answered your question. If it did not, please let me know.
We have another question that's come in. I love the engagement. It's what we wanted. The file names we get daily change based on cycle. So I'm guessing we will just be getting those same file names just on different days of the week.
That is correct. Harkaran, jump in if I go astray here, but that is correct.
Absolutely, Shelly. That is correct. The file names will not change. They will still contain the cycles, just different day of the week and different file content.
And
Thank
is
you.
there any change to the CAT file construction?
No, no change to the CAT file construction.
Okay. One more question is, will this change have any effect on the void window the agencies have to perform a void in IAR?
No, we will still have the next business day void and modification window in place. I'm happy to walk through that if you guys want to. I can do that. I just don't want to mix and match some of the topics, but yes, the void and modification window for the agency does not change.
Okay, and I think we have another segue question that says these files are called the ARC CAT. Does ECCB files have such a large change as well?
Well, for that, I am actually going to turn it over to my colleague, Jen Watkins, and she's going to go through the credit billing file changes.
That was perfect. I mean, like the segue questions are perfect.
I know.
So yes, credit card billing. You can go to the first slide there, Shelly. First of all, I guess this is relevant to the airlines in that you all receive, not all of you, but many of you receive copies of the ECCB file. With the CAT file for reconciliation and reporting. So that's why we wanted to cover it, because there is a little bit of an impact to you on the reconciliation of your credit card statements. And so just to level set everyone, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on ECCB versus credit card billing. And so ECCB is a daily credit card billing process where ARC takes the transactions from the previous day, sales and voids. If there's a void of the same day, it'll be a wash and we won't output it. But we take those transactions directly from the travel technology partners and we output them to the credit card companies. So the day following the sale. Credit card billing, CCB, what we call, comes out of IAR. So after the CAT files are created, we create credit card billing files that include much the same data that is included on the CAT file out of IAR. So it follows the close of the void window in IAR, and we call it sort of the extraction of those transactions out of IAR for output through credit card billing. That would include sales that weren't billed previously through ECCB for one reason or another, refunds and exchanges. We do not process refunds and exchanges through the daily ECCB process. It's only through the IAR credit card billing process. So let's just, now that I've level set, let's talk about what the changes are for ECCB. The schedule for the output is what's changing. ECCB is sort of just conceptually not changing because we're still going to be outputting the transactions the day following the sale. It's just that the cycle that they're going to output will be different. We're expediting the output of transactions, and Shelly talked about this a little bit, for Sunday sales and Monday sales. So Sunday sales will be output a day earlier, as will Monday's transactions that come out of IAR. So this is not about the ECCB process, but coming out of IAR, those sales and refunds exchanges that we process through IAR are going to process a day earlier. So your customers will either get billed for their additional collection or they'll get a refund a day earlier than they do today. So walking through the current file process. So in ECCB on Mondays, we output cycle 5, which includes the Sunday sales, and cycle 4, which is null. So the schedule that Shelly showed you, where we put together the CAT files, we output them at, I think it's 2 a.m. now. We kick off the credit card billing process at 6 a.m. We pick up those files that were created out of that CAT file creation, credit card billing file creation, following the output of the CAT files. And so the schedule pretty well aligns with what Shelly went through, but I'll go through each one here. So on Tuesdays, we output Monday sales. That is in cycle 6. And it's a null file again from cycle 5, just like we do on the CAT file. On Wednesdays, we have Tuesday sales going out in cycle 7. and the Friday and Saturday transactions going out in cycle 6. On Thursdays, we output Wednesday sales in ECCB and the Sunday transactions from IR. Friday, it's the Thursday sales from ECCB and the Monday and Tuesday sales, refunds, exchanges from IR. Saturday, it's Friday sales through ECCB, Wednesday transactions, sales, refunds, and exchanges. And then Sunday, it's the Saturday sales through ECCB and the Thursday transactions, sales, refunds, and exchanges. So let's talk a bit about what's changing. And so in the future, basically, we're pulling all the cycles back a day. So where on Monday, we were outputting cycle 5 of ECCB, it's actually going to be cycle 6. So we're pulling cycle 6 back and outputting it on Monday instead of on Sunday. And so, or I'm sorry, on Monday instead of Tuesday. I said it the wrong way. And cycle 6 was output on Tuesday. Now it's going to be output on Monday through ECCB. Again, we'll have 2 null cycles from IR on the Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have cycle 1 in ECB, Tuesday sales, but it's where it was cycle 7. Now it's going to be cycle 1. On Wednesday, we're also outputting in cycle 7 of credit card billing, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday transactions. Wednesday, cycle 2, it's going out, Wednesday sales are going out on Thursday. Cycle 2, ECCB, credit card billing, it's cycle 1 and includes the Monday transactions. And I guess it's kind of just so on from there. Are there any questions right now, Jason? I guess we can go on to the next slide.
And I don't see any questions, but for those who maybe have joined a bit late, you can utilize the questions area of the GoToWebinar control panel. We are monitoring those questions. And I know this is a lot of information. We are going to provide a PDF copy of this deck. Will be in the handout areas toward the end of this call, as well as those who've attended will receive the recording of this session along with the handouts. This time I have.
I'm going to hand it over to Harper now to do resources and do some frequently asked questions for us. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Greetings, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us today. All right, so for the changes that we've just walked through, and thank you, Shelly and Jennifer, for walking through the changes on the CAT schedule plus our credit billing output schedule. We will be supportedly changing or updating our resources that live on the ArcCorp website and other portals, which, Jason, if we can go to the next slide, please, which are mentioned here. Thank you, Jason. Namely, the 2025 proposed processing schedule, which is also known as the 445 schedule, that divides the calendar into four quarters. And in 2025, even though the period end date does not change, it always remains the Sunday of the week. As Shelly walked through the cycles of the week, today they run from Thursday to Wednesday. In the future, the cycles 1 will run on Wednesday and cycle 7 on Tuesday. The cycles get accelerated. So that schedule will be published and updated based on the changes for expedited reporting. Moving on, the 2025 proposed holiday schedule as well, that gets published every year for the observed holidays by ARC. That applies to the GDS issued transactions, the GDS IR voids and IR modification extension dates, and the ARC report PD and report due dates. Again, for the holidays, as you know, the cycles will not change, and Shelly was just mentioning that. But for what we saw on a Monday holiday, the file content changes. For example, for a Monday holiday, the cycle 7 was a null cycle. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday from the previous week transactions moved into cycle 1 along with Monday's transactions. Similarly, if the holiday, the ARC observed holiday falls on other days of the week, the transactions or the file content changes accordingly. So that schedule, the holiday schedule, will be published as well. Moreover, you might have already heard about the FAQs, the frequently asked questions that are posted on our website. That is a repository of all our frequently asked questions and responses. And as you embark on the journey to prepare for this enhancement or this change, I would highly recommend and suggest if you could go through the FAQs, that would be a super helpful repository of frequently asked questions. And finally, our TIEs, the Transaction Information Exchange Standards, those will be updated as well. TIEs documents the various interfaces between ARC's reporting and settlement business and external parties to provide an understanding of the data elements required to do business with ARC. There are a couple of chapters which will undergo a change or an update for the new schedules, namely the chapter 8, which is our CAT schedule, that will be the CAT transmission schedule that will be updated for expedited reporting changes, and chapter 4, which is our area settlement plan, ASP, section 5, that will undergo a change for the schedule on ARC reporting and processing schedule. So these are the changes that will be published in support of the changes to the CAT and credit billing outputs. And when, as Jason pointed out, he will be sharing the PDF for this PPT that will have the links embedded in therein for easier access to these schedules and calendars. Next slide, please. Right. Let's go through the FAQs. So in addition to the changes that we've seen up there on the above slides that live on the FAQs, are frequently asked questions on the schedules and the holiday schedule versus a regular non-holiday PED schedule. There are certain questions that we've brought on here as well, which are probably the ones that are most frequently asked. And we can see some of them, these questions have already popped up in the question box as well. So just reiterating a couple of them, are there any changes to the CAT file structure? Again, no, the CAT file structure and the data elements will remain the same. What changes is the CAT output schedule, the transmission schedule for both daily and weekly CATs. Is there a change to the weekly cash disbursement? Again, no. The weekly cash disbursement will continue to happen once a week on the current schedule, that is the Friday after the PED ends. What changes is the next question that we have there is the weekly disbursement advice that the carriers received today on Thursday evenings. They will now have receive it or be able to access it on the accelerated schedule on Wednesday evenings instead of Thursday evenings that are received via the OCRs. And just the segue to my next question is getting or accessing other reports, not just the carrier disbursement advice, but also the OCR reports will be accelerated based on the expedited reporting schedule for both daily reports and the weekly reports. Finally, again, our AHD, the airline help desk, is available. The camps are available for any questions, any sort of doubts or anything that you may need in order to prepare for this change, or any questions of how the process is changing. Please feel free to reach out to the AHD, to the camps for any questions that you may have. All right. Jason, any questions on these resources or FAQs that may have popped up in the chat or the question box?
So there is a question that came in. Will there be the ability to push reports to carriers? I don't know if we need a little bit more information for that one or to take offline. We can do that.
I think they're probably talking about online carrier reports, OCR reports, but if you're talking about the CAT file itself, let us know. If you could clarify that question, that would be great.
Thank you, Shelly. And passing it to you, Shelly.
Thank you. Jason, any more before we move to implementation week?
So once again, if you have a question, you can utilize the questions area. Again, I know this is a lot of information. I have gone in under the handouts area of the control panel. I have added the PDF for this PowerPoint. So you have that as soon as you get off the call. If you're wanting to review it again while it's fresh in your mind, you can do that. We're going to be transitioning to you talking about that implementation week when we do actually do the go live. Before we do that, I want to give it another few seconds as far as any questions that might have come in. Phil is talking about the OCRs. So the ability to push the reports to carriers, he was speaking in reference to the OCR reports.
Gotcha. We have not yet made any changes to the OCR delivery. So happy to take a look at that and see if that's something we can do in the future. But Phil, no, we have not made, as part of this particular effort, we haven't made changes to the OCR delivery.
So no other questions at this time, Shelly.
Okay. So we've walked through what the CAT changes and the credit billing changes for mostly what happens right going forward once we implement. We wanted to take a few minutes and talk about implementation week itself, which again happens on January 13th, 2025. So from a CAT perspective, a CAT delivery perspective, airlines will need to be ready for changes on implementation week. So specifically, this is a one-time cutover implementation week change. This will not continue after the week of January the 13th, 2025. So on implementation week, on that Monday, which is January the 13th, you will actually need to be ready to take in 3 CAT cycles. Cycle 4, cycle 5, and cycle 6 for the previous week. All of those CAT cycles will be null. You will get cycle 4 at 1 a.m., cycle 5 at 1 p.m., and cycle 6 at 9 p.m. All of these are Eastern time. Again, this is a one-time implementation week schedule. There will be no CAT deliveries on Tuesdays, and that will continue going forward. On Wednesday, January 15th, you will need to take in cycle 7 at 2 a.m., which is going to contain Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, sales, refunds, exchanges, all debit memos, credit memos from the previous week. The weekly CAT file, the one that contains Monday through Sunday transactions, including debit, credit memos, commission recalls, and adjustments, is going to go out on Wednesday at 4 a.m. And this week, cycle 1 will begin on Wednesday at 9 p.m. and it will contain current week Monday's sales, refunds, and exchanges. From there, on January 16th, you'll have cycle 2 that goes out at 9 p.m. and contains Tuesday's sales, refunds, and exchanges. You'll have cycle 3, which will go out on Friday at 9 p.m. and contain Wednesday's sales, refunds, and exchanges. And you'll have cycle 4, which goes out on Saturday at 9 p.m. and contains Thursday's sales, refunds, and exchanges. And Sunday, cycle 5 at 9 p.m. will be null. That is specifically implementation week cutover. I'll pause right there because again, this is a lot of information. So I want to make sure everyone has the time to absorb and process and ask any questions that you have.
We'll give it a few seconds if there's any questions. And then just to reiterate, Shelly's point is being prepared to receive those 3 files on the Monday. Well, I'm a bit surprised. No questions on implementation week. We have actually one comment. This is beautifully laid out. Your support is amazing.
Thank you very much. And I would like to give the entire team the kudos for that. That is Harkaran and his team, and Jason, who's on this call, Jennifer and Kathy, plus so many more, Phil Myers, plus all of Harkaran's team. So they deserve all the kudos here for this.
No questions at this time.
Okay, so now remember what I just covered was the CAT delivery schedule on implementation week. And now Jen is going to come back and talk about the credit billing file delivery schedule for implementation week.
Yes. So just so everyone has this sort of in perspective, the biggest impact is to the credit card processors, because they're the ones that are actually processing these files and paying you. So we have been working really closely with them. We've done bulletins, we've done notifications, and there will be a lot of hand-holding when we implement to make sure that they're ready to take multiple files in one day is basically what it boils down to. So the real impact to credit billing, I'm just going to kind of cut to the chase here, is on January 14th. It's the Tuesday after we implement, because we're going to be outputting 2 credit card billing files from ECCB and 2 credit card billing files from IR, the credit card billing files, we call them CCB. So cycle 6 and cycle 7 will include sales from Monday. So the plan is, as part of implementation, to divide that data up across 2 separate files. It's likely that one of those files will be null for some of you as airlines, but we're going to be outputting even null files to the credit card companies for cycle 6 and cycle 7 on the 14th. And through credit card billing, CCB, this is from IR, sales, refunds, exchanges, we're going to be outputting cycle 5 and cycle 6. We expect those files to be null as well. And so they will get null credit card billing files for cycle 5 and cycle 6. And when we know that, and this is, you know, singing to the choir, I'm sure you're all very familiar, but credit card companies, the processors, want to get their files in sequence by cycle. They know what to expect. And so that's why we output null cycles sometimes, is so that they know, hey, I got my cycle 5 for this from ARC, and now I got my cycle 6. So that's why we output those null files. Otherwise, the schedule falls pretty well in line with what Shelly outlined on the CAT file. Only in credit card billing, we output at noon every day, and we're going to continue to do that. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of sums it up. That's the big change, and what we've prepared the credit card companies for is you're going to get 2 cycles in one day, and that's January 14th. And then from there on, you'll continue to get 1 cycle. Now it's going to be a day earlier than it was previous, but you're going to get 1 cycle each day. I think I'll just leave it at that. Are there any questions, Jason?
I don't have any questions at this time. Again, we'll give it another moment or so, see if anything comes in.
Okay.
While you're thinking,
Jason, one thing I would like to add, if you don't mind, again, I want to reiterate what I said earlier in the presentation, that once the airlines have had a chance to take this information back to the other teams that may be impacted or your technology vendors, please reach out to us if you have any questions or want us to meet one-on-one with your teams. We're happy to do that.
so there was a question kind of validating. It says the following Monday after the cutover will be cycle 1 for CAT file. So right after that implementation week, we are going to our first holiday week.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. So implementation week, the CAT file schedule is going to be what you see on the screen here. On the Monday following implementation week, you will have the Monday holiday week. And I'm sorry here, I know I'm going back. And the schedule, the CAP file schedule will be what is on the slide right now, which is slide 6, I believe. So again, I would highly recommend you kind of going back, taking a look at these slides, understanding how it's going to impact you, both cutover week, implementation week, and the Monday holiday, which comes immediately after. And we're obviously very happy to talk with you again. You're happy to go back and listen to the webinar again, or look at the FAQ pages, which have an extensive amount of all of these schedules that you're seeing here today are on there.
So a question did come in, again, just validating information. I used to download the OCR files every Thursday night after 9 p.m. Eastern. Would that still be the same?
I am going to actually, Harkaran, can you confirm that?
Yep. So can you confirm, Jason, who is the author of that question? Just
yeah.
to know who am I addressing that to?
Yeah, so that's Jeffrey Coates is asking the question in regards to, again, the availability of the OCR files every Thursday after 9 p.m.
So hi, Jeffrey. Thank you for that question. The OCR reports that are available today on Thursday at 9 p.m. for the disbursement advice will be accelerated by 1 day. You will have access to those reports on Wednesday at 9 p.m.
Which to that
If that
is the
answers your
value.
question,
Yeah, it really instills the value of why we're doing it, of accelerating that data, being able to access it on Wednesday now. He says, thank you, great. There's another question that came in regards to points of contact for general, late file questions, other tech support outside of the ahd@rcorp.com. Is that where we're funneling our questions once we are actually in implementation?
yes, we ask you to direct, once you're in implementation, we ask you to direct questions to our Airline Help Desk, AHD. You can also reach out to your account manager for those who have account manager. If you don't know who your account manager is, please let us know and we'll be happy to let you know who your account manager is. Or if it is something absolutely critical, feel free to reach out to me, but I will tell you the Airline Help Desk monitors probably their email a lot faster than I do. So I would encourage you to send most of your issues or questions there. Sometimes it gets escalated to us, Phil or myself or others, but they are monitoring their email inbox, and of course they're on the phone during our regularly scheduled hours. So very much encourage you to go there first.
At this time, I don't have any more questions, but I will reiterate one more time. Under the handout area of the control panel, you will see the PDF for this PowerPoint. There is one of the pages is the resources that Harkaran reviewed. All those links are active, so you want to review the processing schedule, the holiday schedule, those FAQs, all those resources are there and available live as of today. A couple questions that came in. We're still at time, which is good. Is Monday,
Absolutely.
Tuesday after cutover? I assume there will be no files till Wednesday.
So let's hop over to the cutover week, implementation week. You will receive no CAP files on Tuesday of cutover week. And that actually goes for future weeks as well. But on Monday of cutover week, you'll get 3 null cycles, cycles 4, 5, and 6. And then Wednesday, you'll start receiving 2 cycles, which will continue on once we go live.
Just to confirm there, Shelly, after the cutover week, since Monday, January the 20th is a holiday,
Right.
On the cutover week, we can see cycle 5, which is going to be a null file on Sunday. Cycle 6 will be a null file as per the new schedule on Monday at 9 p.m. And then since it's a Monday holiday, cycle 7 will be a null file as well. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's transaction, you will see on cycle 1 CAD, which will be output on Wednesday at 9 p.m. And the weekly CADs will go out as per schedule on Wednesday. I believe that is January 22nd at 4 a.m.
Thank you.
So Jeffrey's
Hopefully that
asking,
answered your question.
Jeffrey's asking, will this recorded session be available online? I can answer that for you, Jeffrey. So at the end of this session, we will be finalizing the video file. You'll receive an email later this week from our training team that will provide the webinar that we just had, as well as the PowerPoint. But I will also encourage everyone, you can visit arccorp.com, our on-demand webinars. We will be updating that page with this webinar as well. And again, all our resources are on arccorp.com. At this time, Shelly, I don't see any other questions. Do you have any last thoughts?
I would just say, Jason, if you don't mind, most of you on the call probably have my email address, but if not, can you stick my email address in either in the questions or in the handouts if anybody feels like they want to reach out directly and needs any additional information? I'm happy to either get you to the right place or provide that answer for you.
So what I've done is I've added Shelly's email under the chat box. You'll see her email address there. So again, if there's any questions you have and you want to direct them directly to her, you can send her that email. Well, at this time, we have no more questions. Shelly, thank you so much to our panelists, Harper and Jennifer. Thank you so much for all this information. I hope it's been insightful for all our attendees. Again, visit arccorp.com for any more information. Till our next one, thank you very much for joining. Have a great week.